okay, this was a glorious freaking set of dumbbell triceps extensions after months, maybe not months, but seemingly months, at least a month of being stuck at 11 reps with the dumbbell overhead extension with the 140. We got 12 today. And I was actually at 12 like a couple months ago, but my form was a little sloppy, and I was kind of yanking the weight around, using too much momentum. So I did a bunch of form reset workouts, which we've talked about at length on this channel here. So if you're unfamiliar, I think I uploaded a video recently called Form Reset Workout. So go watch that if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Reset my form, use a little more control, slowed it down a little bit, dropped me back down to like 10 reps, 11 reps. And then I was just stuck there for workout after workout after workout. And then today, lo and behold, we get 12. And I'm pretty happy with the form. It's like controlled, but a little bit of burst. And I really felt like I was using my whole body to hold the weight. Like I've talked a lot about the cues with this exercise, where I'm thinking about keeping my shoulders down, trying to create some tension and scooping the elbows in. I know they're still flaring, but I'm trying to cue myself to scoop them some, and then letting that weight, kind of slowly drift back behind my head. And then I'm feeling like my lats, my pecs, my serratus anterior, everything controlling the weight as it comes down and pushing up. And I felt like I had a lot of good connection with not only my triceps, but the rest of my upper body. And sometimes when you're trying to chuck heavy weight, you almost black out. Maybe not literally, but you don't have a strong mind-muscle connection, right? When you're really trying to move some serious load. Whereas, if you want to accentuate mind-muscle connection, slow the tempo down, lighten the weight up, get a good stretch, get a good squeeze. Both tools that you should have in your kit, both are good for different things. Biceps, same thing. 135 pounds on the bar, been stuck at 11 for a month or more, and today we broke through as well. Once I got 12 on the tries, I was like, oh shit, I might be stronger today. Let me go for 12 with the bis too. And we got that as well. And so, with these first heavy-ass sets, explosive, controlled tempo. That's a balance that's hard to strike, geared towards progressive overload. I'm tracking the weight and the reps. I'm really, over time, trying to get more reps. And so when you do, it's a real hit of dopamine, a real taint tickler, if you will, that gets you excited about training. Any of you who are super serious, you know how it feels when you hit a new PR, especially when you've been in that drought. Just the freaking Sahara Desert of the exact same number of reps you've been doing, and then you finally break through. It's that much sweeter. So just wanted to highlight that here. It's pretty exciting. Let's jump into some of these comments here. The first one here we've got from Holy Basil. I recognize your name, so I think you've, commented before, I think. At least that's what my brain tells me. Can't wait to see you diced. Me too, man. I think I've got at least 10 pounds of fat to lose, and we've got maybe 3 more weeks of this massing phase, and then it is time to shred down. I'm not going to try to get absolutely peeled, but I want to be, maybe 10 to 12% body fat. Speaking of which, I asked you guys in the previous video to, I don't know, there seems to be a lot of dispute of what my body fat percentage is. I've asked people on Instagram before, taking a poll. It was all over the place, but maybe I need to just go to a place where they can test it so I actually know. But Braden with a very supportive comment here, around 30%. Okay, here's what 30% body fat looks like. Maybe I'm not being objective, but I'm pretty sure I'm not this fat. Okay. In this footage, I have a pump. I am flexing, and the lighting's not amazing. This is like the best lighting I could find at the gym that I'm currently at, but it's not amazing. I'm quite familiar with good lighting because I do take, pump footage after most of my sessions. So over time, you start to detect, what's great lighting, what's kind of shitty lighting. This is like medium-ish. It's not bad, but anyways, I'm flexing my core, pulling in a little, and getting angles. But like, if you're 30%, you have like a gut. Like, I don't know. So, anyways, appreciate the support, Braden. _. Sec 9161. Please, Irving, can you talk about easy steps for shredded body? Easy steps for shredded body. I currently don't have a super shredded body, but in a couple months I will. But I will talk about the topic anyways. Although, usually I like to, if you're going to talk about something to back it up. I mean, previously I have been much leaner, but not with this amount of muscle mass. So anyways, it's not easy. That's the first problem that you got here in your perspective. It's very difficult to be shredded. Otherwise, most people would be jacked and shredded. It's just really hard to do. When you're younger, your metabolism's faster. It's easier. As you get older, your metabolism slows down. You get fat. It's just freaking life, man. Food's too delicious. My approach, I don't track calories. I don't count macros. I never have. I don't track the amount of protein I consume. I focus on eating healthy whole foods and eating when I'm hungry. And then obviously, in this kind of bulking phase, I'm, eating a little bit more than that. And in my opinion, the simplest, it's different for everybody. Everybody's psychology is different, but the simplest thing to do is to do a log of your diet and just write down all the shit that you're eating for 3 days. Don't change it first. Just brutal, honest truth. This is what I'm putting in my body. And then just change one thing. The times I've got the leanest in my life, this is what I've done. I go, okay, I eat popcorn 5 nights a week at 9 p.m. Okay, I'm not going to change a single thing on my diet. I'm just going to stop doing that. It's quite manageable. It's a sustainable change. And then after 2 weeks of that, I'd be like, hey, what next? What else am I doing? Oh, I'm putting, having oatmeal and trail mix. I put trail mix in my oatmeal, and then I'm putting some chocolate covered almonds in there every morning. Okay, I'm just going to take those out now. Simple, slow steps that you can actually sustain. That's what works for me. And you see how your body adapts, and you're like, okay, I'm losing a little bit of weight, but not as much as I'd like. Make another change. I think there's no easy way to do it, but that's what's worked for me in the past to lose weight, and that's what I'm going to be doing soon, 3 weeks from now. Another strategy could be don't eat anything after 8 p.m. Once I just gave 2 examples, but say you've done 2 steps, you let each one sit for 2 weeks, you let it bake. So it's a month in, maybe you've lost 5 pounds. And then the next thing is okay, now I'm just going to not eat anything after 8 o'clock. So now you are not eating any popcorn anymore in the evenings. You're not having chocolate almonds in the morning, and you don't eat anything after 8 p.m. Maybe after another month, you lose another 5 pounds. You're down 10 pounds. Ideally, you're sustaining these things. The problem is it just it demands discipline to sustain it. Most people just fall off and they go back to eating popcorn one night because you really wanted to. It's there's nothing complex. It just requires discipline, maybe some degree of education if you don't understand calorie dense foods and you maybe think you're eating healthy, but you're eating shit that has tons, for example, nuts. Don't fill up on trail mix because it has disproportionately higher calories in comparison to the volume of food it is. So you could feel not really full, but keep eating, a bag of trail mix, and you've pounded 1,400 calories when you just thought you were having a snack. So some stuff like that, you could just Google what are high calorie foods and generally try to avoid them. But or a lot of people like to track their calories, track their macros and shit. That's never been for me, but it works too. So I don't know what else to tell you, man. I think it's just eat healthy, eat less, and it's just brutally hard to do. Anyways, let's move on. It's not super optimistic, but I think that's the truth. Arcus Poseidon, Pipes Lord. Dude, I will take that name that you bless upon thy. What do you think of lengthened partials leading to faster bicep growth? Do you believe it? I don't know. This is a claim somebody made. Dr. Milo Wolf or something, or one of these other science guys. I would say no. I don't believe it. From what I've seen in my experience, the primary things that are going to drive growth in your biceps and triceps is progressing the weight and reps that you can do within a consistent form and tempo cadence. Explosive tempo will help you to move more weight, progress your strength faster. Working in slower tempos allows you to develop better mind-muscle connection, maybe get more out of each rep that you do. Lengthened partials, I use those at the end of I think those are useful for maximizing a pump because you can take the set beyond failure, demand more of the muscle, draw more blood into the muscle. In terms of producing more growth, I'm not really convinced in my anecdotal experience. I've used them extensively as an intensity technique to burn out and get as much of a pump as I can, which I'll do at the end of the workout, which is maybe marginally effective for growth. I'm not really sure, but I love to do it. It's a fun way to finish the session. So I keep doing it But as the time has gone on, most times I've seen growth, I'm usually getting stronger, or, you know, adding in some extra volume or some extra frequency. I think, you know, unless you've been training for 10 plus years consistently, I don't think it makes any sense to try and rely on something like lengthened partials to lead to more growth and to potentially replace your normal full range of motion focused on progressive overload training with specifically isolated lengthened partials. It would be an interesting experiment. I wouldn't write it off, but I haven't seen anything particularly specific about them, having used them extensively, that seems to be superior to a normal range of motion. So in my opinion, no. And I think if you're going to do them more with the thought of this is an intensity technique that will allow me to fatigue my muscles further to get more of a pump. Can't Caesar 4413. All right, enough already, Matt. Full day of eating. Okay, noted. Keep that in mind. We've got Enigma here again, the dedicated troll. 35% blubber at least. So you and Braden _ the two people that commented, were 30 to 35% body fat. That's what this looks like right here. That's the feedback I'm getting from you guys. It's very helpful. That's very helpful. Desert Storm 7476. What's your height? I'm 6'1". You look heavier than 228. Okay, man, I'll take it. That's what most people say. That is typically what I get, is that I look like I'm more than I weigh. And this is the heaviest I've ever been. But yeah, typically people think that. I'm not a super dense individual. And, you know, my legs they've come up a ton, but they're still not like a strong point. So I think I have easily, you know, 10 more pounds of mass to gain, just because, I think in the next year, so long as my back holds up and my kind of injury issues don't get worse and I could continue to progress the leg training, I don't see why I couldn't add at least 5 to 10 more pounds of muscle on my legs alone. Like my approach with legs is still quite, maybe not novice, but intermediary, meaning I'm still getting growth, just doing really basic stuff. Like I'm not training all the way to failure. I would if I could, but I just get issues with my back. But regardless, I'm training like maybe 4 RIR and doing 4 sets of Bulgarian lunges or split squats, and, you know, resting 2-3 minutes in between, doing that every 6 days, resting 5 days, doing that again. And, you know, over the past 4-5 months that I've been doing that consistently, I've seen, you know, pretty substantial growth in strength and muscle size. I think the last time I measured my quads, they were 26.5 inches, you know, at the thickest part of the quad without a pump. And, yeah, so I think I could easily be, you know, potentially a year from now, I could maybe be like 230 ripped, or like 12% body fat, 10% body fat. Just, you know, maybe I can gain a couple more pounds here and there in the upper body, but I think there's still tons of room for my legs to grow. So that's part of the reason that, you know, if you just see my upper body, my legs are proportionally underdeveloped still. So bringing those up another 5 to 10 pounds would probably make them more proportional to my upper body, and then I'd weigh, you know, 5 to 10 pounds more. So that's part of it too. Matteo Vanderlinden, to build muscle, you need to be in a caloric surplus. This is just a fact. And then we've got a debate here. Hacks Holloway, Max Holloway, blessed. You need a calorie surplus to gain weight, not necessarily to gain muscle. Your body has surplus calories stored in the form of body fat it can use. And then Desert Storm jumps in. Exactly. You can't gain weight when you burn more than you use. That's physics. But put an untrained obese guy on a high protein caloric deficit and make them lift weights, they will gain muscle. Yeah, that was my point with the previous video, is like I'm trying to suggest to sort of loosen your mindset that like it is so simple that you must be in a calorie surplus to gain muscle. I'll see if I can find the short, but I made a video in the past where I looked into the science around this, and that was not what it was saying.
Can you lose fat and build muscle at the same time? Science says Yes? In my review of the scientific literature, a common theme emerged, which was the need for a high-protein diet. 2 studies worth mentioning. Both of them split individuals up into 2 groups, one consuming a normal amount of protein and one consuming a high amount of protein. The first study showed that both groups gained the same amount of muscle mass, but the high-protein group lost more fat, even though they're consuming more calories. In the second study, the high-protein group gained more muscle and lost more fat than the normal protein group. Both of these studies looked at experienced, trained individuals, so if you're serious about the gym, you're trying to shred down, you should be able to lose weight while still building muscle, as long as you get that protein in.
There was a number of instances where people were gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time, and the researchers concluded, it was the muscle gain process is more complex than just caloric surplus, caloric deficit, paired with training stimulus and adequate sleep. Your hormonal balance, there's some unknown aspects still that they're pointing to, allegedly. So generally speaking, you don't want to be in a depleted state. You don't want to be in extremely low body fat percentage. And even if you are maybe heavier, if you're in like a 700 calorie deficit every day, that might make it more tough to gain muscle. But I think in my opinion, most people are kind of missing the main beneficial message, which is like once you're up to 12-15% body fat, your training stimulus and your sleep and recovery is going to be the main thing that drives growth. Adequate nutrition is going to support that, but really focusing on being in like a substantial caloric surplus has some drawbacks to it. And I would, in my opinion, I don't think there's a substantial additional benefit in additional muscle that you'll gain. And I've never intentionally gone on an extensive bulk the whole time I've been lifting. Some people say, well, maybe you'd be way bigger than you are. Maybe, but periods where I tried to hammer more food, I never was like, wow, I'm gaining way more muscle. It consistently, it always seemed like training changes in the gym. Things with your training and sleep and recovery, lifestyle factors, stress. And, as long as your diet is adequate, you're eating healthy, you're getting a reasonable amount of protein in. That's just my opinion, but not everybody's going to agree with that. And that's okay. Stack Tom, to wrap things up. Hi, Matt. Just listen to your body. This is the best way. If you push harder at the gym, obviously you will eat big for big gains. Then enjoy the life. Eat everything on the menu, but without forcing yourself like a pig. So he's kind of referencing summing it up in a different way than I'm putting it. But if your training is sufficient in the gym to stimulate growth, your body will probably respond by making you a little bit hungrier, and then you will inevitably eat more, even without adopting the mentality of I need to like force feed or hammer more calories. If your training is adequate, your sleep is good, everything is on point. If when you're hungry, you still eat and you just listen to your appetite and satiate yourself, you're probably going to end up putting down enough calories, which is another kind of interesting way to put it that makes sense. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys can go out there and hit some PRs as well. And when you're in the, long season of stagnation, you're not alone. That one additional rep is on the horizon at any point. Don't lose faith. Don't try to get too high. Don't get too low. And eventually, you'll see an extra little hit here and there. You take consistent amount of L's for the odd W once in a while. A little sense of euphoria, and then back to being depressed for a month. No, just kidding. You should be happy to be in there training no matter what. Focus on other aspects of your training. Still try to execute the sets at high intensity. Stay optimistic, even in the face of disappointment or delayed satisfaction, or that's a tough thing to manage, because one of those days you're going to be blessed and that extra rep is coming. So you want to be a negative Nancy and have given up on it, or have a bad attitude. That's probably not going to happen. Or so just try to stay a bit stoic. Don't get too bummed out when you're not seeing the progress. Keep just doing the simple things, showing up. Don't think about shit too much. Don't get too emotional. And if you just continue to do that over and over again, that's very difficult. That's why a lot of people don't. But if you can, those little bits of progress do come if you just keep showing up and putting in everything you've got. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Peace.